forged by battles, refined by fire, built for purpose. I am Alpha BET-DAWID, and this is where pain becomes power. Welcome to the journey. There is something people rarely talk about when they speak about faith. They tell you about miracles. They tell you about breakthroughs. They tell you about the moment everything suddenly changes. But what they often don't talk about is the long season in between. The season where you pray and nothing seems to change. The season where you believe but circumstances continue to fight you. The season where you know God is real, but your life still feels like a battlefield. And that is the season I want to talk about today. Because my story has not just been about spiritual warfare, it has also been about perseverance in the middle of unanswered questions. Many people believe that once you give your life to Christ, everything suddenly becomes easy. That once you become a believer, the storms stop. But for many people, the opposite happens. In my life, when I became a born-again believer and committed myself fully to Christ, things did not suddenly become easier. In many ways, they became harder. The battles intensified. Circumstances became heavier. Situations became more complicated. There were struggles with finances, struggles with relationships, struggles with opportunities. It often felt like every time I tried to move forward, something pushed back. Every time I tried to build something, something collapsed. Every time I tried to create progress, a new obstacle appeared. And if I'm being honest, there were moments where I wondered, God, where are you? One of the most difficult things in faith is when God does not intervene the way you are expecting Him to. We often imagine that when we pray sincerely, God will immediately step in and remove the problem. But sometimes He doesn't. Sometimes the storm continues. Sometimes the delay continues. Sometimes the answer we want does not come when we want it. And that is where faith is truly tested. Because faith is not just believing God when things are going well. Faith is believing God when everything seems uncertain. Even after becoming a believer, many areas of my life remained under intense pressure. Projects I worked hard to build did not always succeed. Financial breakthroughs I prayed for did not immediately appear. Relationships that seemed promising sometimes fell apart. Opportunities sometimes disappeared at the very moment they seemed within reach. There were seasons where it felt like I was constantly climbing uphill, only to slide back down again. It would have been easy to become bitter. It would have been easy to lose hope. It would have been easy to say maybe none of this matters, but something inside me refused to give up. Because even though my life did not look the way I wanted it to, when I looked deeper, I began to notice something important. God had not abandoned me. I might not have had the financial breakthrough I wanted yet, but I had a roof over my head. I had food on my table. I had the ability to wake up every morning and keep moving forward. My mind was still clear. My spirit was still strong. My faith was still alive. And when I began to reflect on that, I realized something powerful. God may not always move when we want him to, but he is always aware of where we are. Sometimes we measure success only by money. Sometimes we measure progress only by visible achievements. But God often gives us something far more valuable first. He gives us wisdom. He gives us understanding. He gives us discernment. He teaches us lessons that money alone could not teach. Through all the trials I faced, I began to gain knowledge about life. I began to understand spiritual realities. I began to recognize patterns, motives, and influences that many people cannot see. I gained a deeper understanding of faith, of perseverance, of purpose. And those things are priceless because money can come and go, but wisdom changes everything. One of the most important lessons I have learned through all these experiences is this: delay does not mean denial. Just because something has not happened yet does not mean it will never happen. Sometimes God delays things because he is preparing you, preparing your character, preparing your understanding, preparing your strength. Because the blessing you are asking for might require the version of you that only exists after the struggle. If you are listening to this right now and you feel like life has been delayed, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not alone. There are many people walking through seasons where they feel like nothing is moving, where it feels like everyone else is progressing while they remain stuck. But your current season is not your final destination. Your struggles do not define your future. Your delays do not cancel your destiny. And the battles you face today may actually be shaping the strength you will need tomorrow. Despite everything that has happened in my life, the battles, the delays, the hardships, I continue to persevere. Because hope is something that darkness cannot easily destroy. I believe that God sees everything. I believe that God understands every battle we fight. And I believe that when the time is right, what has been delayed will eventually be revealed. My breakthrough may not have come yet, but my faith has not left me. And as long as I have faith, I will continue to move forward. Sometimes the greatest testimony is not a sudden miracle. Sometimes the greatest testimony is simply refusing to quit, refusing to give up, refusing to surrender to despair, continuing to stand even when the battle feels endless. Because the same God who carried you through the storm is the same God who will eventually bring you out of it. And when that day comes, every struggle will make sense. This is Alpha A BET-DAWID. If this message spoke to you today, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone through a season where it felt like God was silent, but you still held on to faith? Share your story in the comments below. Your testimony might encourage someone else who is fighting their own battle. And remember, no matter how long the night feels, morning always comes. I will see you in the next episode.